You see, the darkness, it only came because we let the fathers, the monsters, we let them rule. But now, all we have to do is make a breadsheet.
Mock swagger. I'm calling you out. Just making a joke. This is Bossman with Breadsheet, this podcast. My fake name is Bossman. My guest's fake name is Kristi Yamaguccimane today on the inaugural episode of Breadsheet. I'm not going to do a long intro for this. I might do long intros sometimes if I want to, but I was up very late last night making theme music, doing the last edits on this, only part one of a two-part episode, interview, whatever you want to call it, with Mr. Crispy Meme Donut himself, the TDZ AKA King, Mr. Kristi Yamaguccimane. At Crispy Meme Donut, also known as Ass Warfare, his burner account. He is a Daily Zeitgeist stalwart. That's a podcast that we submit AKAs to. He has submitted 1 billion of them. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, whatever. He's a cool dude. And you should listen to this interview with him because he's pretty smart and chill and fun to talk to. I was probably a little awkward. I was really hot sitting in a closet. And of course, first episode, a little anxious. But I'm going to keep going with this. I hope you enjoy it. Subscribe, please like, and leave a 5-star review. Even if you think this sucks, just to be nice, leave a 5-star review and say that it's really, really great. Because, that'll help me out. And you don't have to listen to it. You can just subscribe and let it just keep downloading into your feed. And that'll put my numbers up. And everybody wins, right? And you'll just have a little extra space on your phone. That way we're cooperating. See, that's what this is all about. Somebody needs to make a breadsheet. That's a spreadsheet about bread. Now, let me explain. I'm not going to explain that right now. I'm just going to go ahead and go to the interview with Mr. Kristi Yamaguccimane. He is at Crispy Meme Donut. I am at Bossman. You might hear that the quality of this sound is going to be different from the quality of the sound of my voice on the recording, and that's because we had a bunch of technical difficulties, and I had to do a really weird thing that I'm not going to get into right now, but at some point, if you want me to explain it, I will, maybe on the next episode, but I'm just so tired. I was up super late, and now I'm supposed to be working. Technically, I think I'm committing time theft right now. But I just wanted to get this episode up real quick. I figure, this is about the amount of time I would be on a smoke break or a bathroom break or something like that. So it's okay. And plus, all wage labor under capitalism is exploitation. So I think we're doing good. We're off to a great start. Opening up episode 1 of Breadsheet with some time theft, stealing from the capitalists. So, we don't really get political in this first half. This is just the part 1. I realized when I was editing it that, this is my podcast and I can split it into 2 parts. So this doesn't have to take 2 weeks. I can just release part 1 and then I'll try to get the next part out by the end of this weekend. So yeah, this part 1 with Kristi Yamaguccimane, this is just some little peek behind the curtain, getting to know Mr. Crispy Meme Donut. We just talked music and Wilmington and, a few other things. I just had a ding. I wonder if that came through on the mic. Well, this is a good conversation. The second half, which I'll release, like I said, next week, that we go into more talking about the protests, Black Lives Matter, this incredible historical moment. That's, probably going to be the more substantive half of the podcast, but this first half is very informative and very fun. It's a hang. We're not professional comedians or public speakers or anything. We're just chilling, talking about stuff that we think matters. At least for the second half of the show, and for the first half, just sort of shooting the shit. Sort of reminded me of in my musician days. Musicians were always, not always, but often really fun people to hang out with because they just have a lot of stories. You know, they travel a lot, they meet a lot of weird people, and a lot of them are really weird people. So this, and Kristi Yamaguccimane is a musician, and he's kind of a weird guy, just like me, and just like probably most of the people listening to this. That's what unites us all. We're all kind of weirdos in our own way, right? So the point of this podcast is to fix society. I have a YouTube channel called Bossman. Just go to youtube.com and search for Bossman and look at my videos, subscribe, like, and all that stuff. And without any further ado, here is Mr. Kristi Yamaguccimane. I think Midsentence is where we start.
Man, the more things get simplified, the more difficult they end up being when something goes wrong.
That's very true. That's like Apple products. I love them because they're so user-friendly, but whenever you have to do something like just a little bit more complicated, there's like, can't figure it out.
The slightest thing out of pocket ends up being a pain in the ass.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, since we've already exhausted 28 minutes,
dude, I am on no schedule, man. Like
okay.
I know you just got off work, but yeah, if you want to redo the intro and stuff and like go into whatever framework you want to do, then go for it, man. Take your time with this thing, dude.
Okay, I appreciate your patience in my brand new endeavor.
Yeah, of course, dude. You're flying by the seat of your pants on this shit, dude.
Absolutely. I I used to write for Flagpole magazine in Athens. And so I've done my share of interviews, but they were all like I would record them, but they were just for my use for like writing articles.
Right.
And like it would, the way that I did it back then, this was like back in like almost 10 years ago. I would record them. I would like open up GarageBand on my computer, call Google, call the like PR person through Google Voice. They would connect me to whoever I was interviewing, and then I would record their voice coming out of my speakers into the microphone in GarageBand.
Holy shit.
But it was just for me to transcribe, so it didn't really have to sound good. But
right.
But you sound really clear. Are you using that Zoom mic?
Yeah, I am. I'm using that IQ6. Actually, DJ Daniel from Zeitgeist recommended it because I wanted something. I want to start interviewing my dad and start getting some of his stories down. And so I wanted something that was decent quality that I could just take over there and set between him and I, and just start asking him questions and basically just get him talking, because you don't need much of anything to kickstart that mouth of his. And once he's going, man, his stories are never ending. So we've got plans to do that as soon as we feel like it's pretty safe to like be in close proximity with each other. Oh yeah,
it's a bummer that I haven't been able. My parents only live like an hour and a half away from me, but haven't seen them since the pandemic began.
Yeah, I feel you.
But
well, yeah, do you want to do the intro or whatever you've got in mind? I don't know how you wanted to start this thing. I know it's obviously recording. You can chop all this stuff up, but however you want to intro it, we can do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably like record an intro. You can hear my voice is still kind of scratchy.
Yeah.
I'll probably record a different like an intro later and put that in. Okay. But for now, let's just go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Welcome, Kristi Yamaguccimane, to I guess this is the inaugural episode of Breadsheet, as I think I might wind up calling it. It's honestly,
I know it was a placeholder name, but it's not a bad name at all.
It actually has kind of a meaning, which I'll maybe tell you later because I have a few stuff to kind of lead up to. I kind of want to end with just talking about like, what the fuck do you think I should do this podcast about?
Right, gotcha.
Pick your brain a bit. But okay, so let's start with, like I said earlier, since we're kind of, it's mostly going to be Zeitgang, probably, maybe only Zeitgang listening to this, like the first episode anyway.
My mom might listen to this, and that might be the only person besides Zeitgang that gives it a try.
Yeah, my friend Samuel will definitely listen to it because he's the only friend I have who also listens to Daily Zeitgeist, and
nice.
He's like not on social media really, so he'll probably be excited to just like hear Kristi Yamaguccimane's voice.
Oh shit. Well, You'll have to. I'll send him a signed like 8x10 of something.
Oh,
Not my face, but I'll send him like a thanks for listening postcard or some shit.
hell yeah. I'm sure he'd really appreciate that. I will send you his address.
Hell yeah.
So, but I thought, like I said, I thought it would be a cute way to start by what's something that's overrated. Let's rip off Daily Zeitgeist to get the ball rolling.
So something that's overrated. I struggle with this one every time I listen to an episode of that because I like everything that I start to think is overrated. I start to justify why it's not, like why there's a good reason people like the things that they do. But I will say overrated is having hair. And that's a personal one because I was like 21, 22 when I started going bald. But once I took the razor to this thing, once I, as Bomani Jones famously says, once I came home, as far as my hairline, there was no turning back, and it is amazing. It feels incredible. I never have to worry about going and getting haircuts. Like all the people during the pandemic that have talked about, like, can't wait to get back to the barber and all this stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. If I had a good head of hair, I would be singing a completely different tune, but I do not. So I'm going to lie and say that I don't miss it at all. But I think it's overrated having hair, like shaving your head or just keeping it close cropped. Man, it feels amazing. Razor it in the shower. You get like an electric razor and you buzz it every couple days and you're good to go. So either having hair, and my second one is dishwashers. Dishwashers, having an electric dishwasher, they're great. However, like if you just wash the pans that you just used to cook, like right after dinner, like you don't have to use that water bill, that electric bill goes down. Like you don't have to wait and like fill up, your dishes start running low because you haven't used enough to like fill up the dishwasher to justify running a load and stuff. Like I feel like it was one of these appliances of modern convenience that was like a status symbol, and then it just became like a standard appliance to have. But like you get yourself a drying rack and you just like kind of keep up with it a little bit, like you don't need a dishwasher. Like I've got a way too expensive dishwasher in my kitchen, and I like washing dishes. I like standing there and like scrubbing them and then setting them out to dry, and then like I don't know, there's something kind of like therapeutic about it to me. So that's what I'll go with my underrated.
Well, I mean, yeah, that having like washing dishes is kind of actually like when I used to, have to work in restaurants and stuff, I would always try to be the one to wash dishes just because if you put in headphones, you got a podcast, an
Hell yeah,
audiobook,
absolutely.
some music,
Yep.
then like I like doing stuff like that. Like honestly, I've always thought that especially since like just having a phone in your pocket and just being able to listen to anything all the time has become the
Literally
norm.
anything. Yep.
Like I used to always like think, man, I never, especially growing up on a farm and stuff, like I never want to have to do manual labor for a living.
Right.
But now it's like, I mean, if it paid well, I wouldn't really mind doing manual labor just because I could just listen to stuff the whole time and
Yeah, absolutely.
fly right by.
Oh well, that's
I mean,
that. I mean, that's essentially what my job is now. I detail cars full time at a dealership here in town, and I absolutely love it. And there's something similar to like washing dishes, like that manual labor, that immediate satisfaction, that gratification you get from like completing a task and like seeing the difference from where you started to where you ended. And yeah, you're damn right. All day long, I spend with an earbud in my ear listening to Daily Zeitgeist or Reply All or Dan Le Batard's show or an audiobook or even just listening to YouTube videos. Like what we've learned over the past like decade, 2 decades or whatever, like since podcasts started becoming a thing, is that so much of the visuals that you need to tell a story are not necessary. Like the audio format it's nice to have those visuals, but that's two senses that you need to dedicate to consuming information. If I can, excuse me, I had to burp for a second.
bless you.
If I can complete a task by just dedicating one sense to it, then hell yeah, I'm going to vacuum, I'm going to mow the grass, I'm going to do like everything I actually need to get done instead of having to dedicate my eyes to something. So yeah, I dig it. I know we just got off on a hell of a tangent there as far as dishwashers being overrated, but yeah, I'm right there with you.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, tangents. Some of my favorite podcasts are the ones that have like super long tangents. You're like, what the fuck was this supposed to be about again? So I thrive on a lack of structure most of the time.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
But yeah, so it was your overrateds were dishwashers, which I think you gave some very compelling reasons for that. And I mean, the thing that you said about just washing your stuff after you use it, like I lived in a house that didn't have a dishwasher with like 5 other people back in college, and we figured out very quickly that we needed, because none of, it was a bunch of guys, like 20-year-olds.
Right.
We realized that like we had to come up with a system. So what we all did was each of us had 1 plate, 1 cup, like 1 of each utensil, just like 1 of everything that you need.
Just like prison, just
yes.
like prison, or like being a cowboy out on the Wild West or some shit. Like you got your 10 plate and your 1 spoon and your 10 cup, and that's all you used. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean it works well. And you don't wind up with like dishes piling up and stuff. And yeah. And then the other thing, having a shaved head, I also had some, or I guess overrated having hair, right?
Yeah, there you go.
When I was in my early 20s, I had long hair, like, down to my nipples. And a friend of mine kept telling me, like, dude, you just got to shave it off. Just get rid of it. Like, it'll feel so good to, like, get rid of all your hair all at once. Like,
right.
And he was so right about that. And ever since then, like, every time it starts getting, like, barely a little bit hot, I always shave all my hair off.
Man. Feels incredible. I went like around the age of like 20, I started noticing my hair was receding, and all my grandfathers both my grandfathers and my dad went bald real young. So I knew it was coming, but around 2021, it went from like 0 to 60. Like my hair said, fuck you, I'm out, and it was gone hardcore. And so right before that, I had grown my hair down past my shoulders, and I used to put it in pigtails. I used to put it in braids, and had the big beard to go along with it. And that's how I just used to, that was the style. But then I was like, oh my God, this shit is getting so thin on top. And then when I shaved it, when it was just like, it was Andy Dufresne at the end of Shawshank Redemption, like standing in the rain. It was the most liberating feeling of like never having to be insecure about that again. Because I see, dude, look, no shade on anybody that's holding on to that last little bit of wisp, that the dandelion fuzz laying on the top of their head. I get it, man. I get it. However, if you just come home, if you just own it, you will feel more confident. You will feel like you'll never have to think about it again. And I promise you, your head is not as weirdly shaped as you are insecure about it. It's not as bad as you think it is. I promise.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think all guys should shave their head like before they, might start going bald, just so that they can like see that it doesn't fucking matter. It's not a big deal.
Exactly. Hey, somehow I ended up with my wife, who is incredible, with a completely bald head and a gigantic beard. And I still don't know how I did it, but I am super thankful for it.
Well, see, there you go, man. I remember my sister telling me that she thinks guys with like male pattern baldness look like distinguished. So,
yeah,
there's something
particular. Like you got guys like your famous dudes that held on what is technically too long, like Jason Statham or Bruce Willis. Like those dudes, that's a style of male pattern baldness I don't really fully grasp. It's like some secret of the universe, how you can have that little hair but somehow look cooler than you've ever fucking looked. I don't really get that, and that's not the style that I had. Unfortunately, I may have rocked that a little longer than I should have, if it actually, like, if I went bald in a pattern that was any kind of appealing. But I didn't, so I bicked the hell out of it.
Well, hell yeah, man. I love to hear that somebody's secure with their looks.
Absolutely, own that shit.
All right, so what's something that's underrated?
Underrated. So like my overrated was a little like actually specific. My underrated is going to be a little more abstract.
Okay.
The act of observation.
Interesting.
And what I mean by that is like just whether it's growing something from scratch, whether you have a garden. I've got a garden going on. And I've also I bought this like screen box, this mesh box where I have put caterpillars in and all sorts of bugs that that form cocoons and stuff. Cause I want to see what they turn into and then I'll release them and stuff. And I kept I released some praying mantis not too long ago, for my garden to like eat predators and stuff. And whether it's growing something legal or not illegal or whatever you want to do, but I've got like tomatoes and broccoli and all sorts of stuff. Like just the act of observing like time passing, and that's like the most obvious example I can think of is just like even if it's just a plant in the corner of your room, or if you live in an apartment, like something on your deck, you can grow like little herbs and stuff like that. It's the most rewarding thing, and you don't have to do a whole lot when you're growing something, but the observation, the noticing that holy shit, this thing is 3 times taller than it was like a week ago. Time's going to pass regardless. You might as well observe something and like take pride in that time passing, if that makes sense.
That is an abstract one, but that's a very cool one. I mean, the gardening, that's something that I've never really gotten the appeal. I mean, I could always guess, but
Sure.
a couple years ago, like we were dog sitting for somebody. My girlfriend was gone for the day, and
Hmm.
some stuff that she had just planted, the dogs like dug it up. So I wanted to like
Oh, no.
her not to be like too disappointed when she got home. So I went out and got replacement seeds and came back and spent the couple hours doing that. And I was like, I totally get why people like gardening now. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
Oh, and it's
communing with
another
the
thing.
earth.
It's another thing that you put a podcast in, pop a little earbud in,
Mm-hmm.
and you go out and I positioned my garden to where like the house we bought had some sprinkler systems already going in there, and I programmed the sprinkler system just to hit the garden like twice a day. And so I don't really have to do anything. I go out in the morning and I check on my little praying mantises have like quadrupled in size now. So they're like about 2 inches long, and they started off about half an inch when they were born. So like I'm watching them grow. I'm watching the tomato plants grow, the broccoli, the onion, the spearmint, the peppers, like all sorts of cool shit. And so I'm watching that, but also like I know this is still an observational thing, but
Mm-hmm.
like observing a situation, like sitting back and like not feeling the need to comment on something, which I struggle with all the time, just observing and absorbing, is also like part of this. Is like underrated is you could also say just like knowing when to shut the fuck up, but observing like a situation instead of screaming cannonball and jumping off the deep end, is also part of it. Just if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm like it's so abstract it might not even compute.
No, totally. Very, very zen. I'm sure there is like
Yeah,
some kind
yeah,
of Buddhist something about that.
for sure.
Just being able to like absorb the moment.
Right, right.
Something that made me think of, did you guys get to see the Eclipse a couple years ago?
Yeah, we did.
Did you see it like full totality?
Well, not full totality. It
Hmm.
was I want to say it was like 80% or something like that, or close, maybe even more than that.
Very cool experience either way. I up on my parents' farm, like where I live right now, it didn't reach totality, but just driving an hour and a half up north, like we barely got like a minute or so of it.
Hmm.
And that was, I highly recommend it. First of all, like if you ever get a chance, my girlfriend and I have actually been thinking about, there's one in coming up in somewhere in like Central America. It's going to
Hmm.
pass through in like 2024. So
Right.
we're thinking about maybe planning a trip just like around that, because I've always wanted to go to Central America anyway, but
Yeah.
be a
I've
good
been to
excuse.
Costa Rica twice. Yeah, 2 times now, and it's incredible.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to go there. I'd love to live in just a Spanish speaking country for a while just to like
Yeah,
improve my Spanish or
sure.
learn it at all. But that's the eclipse. That was like kind of one observation, excuse me, that I had after the eclipse was it was like it's like you never really get to experience like time passing,
Right.
and that was what it felt like. You were like, fast forwarding the universe and like getting to actually like observe something that like only kind of passively is always happening to you.
Right.
And that's another thing I've always kind of struggled to put into words, like what that sensation was like.
Yeah. 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 I get it a little bit like you have these. So I don't know how many listen. If people are listening to this, they probably have seen my Twitter or seen me tweet about stuff, but I'm a stepdad to 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
And my middle son is going into his senior year of high school. And my youngest one is 14 now. And I've been in their life for the past 10 years and observing like it's the so I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole of like parent talk and shit because it's boring as hell. But just the observing them and observing them consuming the universe and like basically you see these moments where they have thoughts that they've never had before, and just those little markers of like, man, you just got introduced to a whole new concept. And I don't try to butt in, I answer any questions they have and stuff, but just like sitting back and observing them like kind of contemplate and kind of wrap their minds around something that they've never thought about before is like one of the coolest observational moments. And it's also it's a like a milestone. It's a signifier of time passing in another person's life. I remember the moments that I had these first like far out thoughts about how the universe worked and how just anything and everything. And to see that in a younger, smaller human is absolutely wild. I love it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's I definitely want to have kids someday. And that I used to teach high school and actually want to start doing that again sometime soon as
What
well. But
subject?
English.
English. Cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But so yeah, that was always, just the most, and I've worked with like, I taught ESL in China
Mhm.
and Taiwan, and I've, taught ESL here, and also like, like English literature and like the, normal high school teacher
Right.
thing. And, I have, that's like always been the most rewarding thing. That's something that you really get to see, to observe in like teaching adolescents, like English literature.
Right.
Like getting to see them and like, mixing in philosophy with it and stuff like that, just like getting them to like grasp new
Mhm.
concepts. And they find it at that age, a lot of them, it's like very profound, and you can kind of just see that on their
Right.
faces. So
Absolutely.
all right, so something from your search history that's revealing about who you are.
Okay. So search.
This is a fun question. I love this one.
So I actually like before I jumped on this call, I looked at my search history. Um so I was writing an AKA today and I needed something to rhyme with the word chain, and I was trying to
Okay.
find something Italian. I was writing an AKA for Miles of Gray, and it was to like a Jay-Z song, and I was trying to rhyme something like I was looking up 5-grain Italian bread, just in a desperate attempt, and I ended up abandoning it because I could not find any Italian dish that had that sound in it. But that's pretty revealing about me because like I like these are like puzzles to me. These are like I get something stuck in my head, and until I can get it out, like until I can complete the puzzle, the rhyme scheme, the syllables, the the I forget the technical names for all this stuff. You're an English teacher. What's it called? Like the a number of syllables in a verse or something. Does that do you know the name for that?
That's that would be like
Yeah,
scansion
that's it.
is like
That's it.
what it's called, like when you
Yes.
label those things.
Scansion.
But
So like
Yeah, like the meter maybe I think is
Right.
what it's called, and then scansion would be like the
So
labeling of it.
like
But
I
yeah,
am I genuinely look up like rhyme schemes and stuff that I'll put in a word from like whatever song I'm trying to parody, and I will like, and I know this sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not. It's we're talking like a few minutes worth of like, does this work out or not? But again, like I don't do crossword puzzles, I don't do Sudoku, I don't do like any other like, brain teasers. These are like the brain teasers that I've come up for myself. So that's one of the things. 5 grain Italian bread, because I am
okay.
I'm obsessed with that, and then trying to get the rhyme schemes right. Another thing is John Coltrane's hometown. um I saw some post today, I don't even remember where I saw it, where somebody had painted a mural of John Coltrane in Hamlet, North Carolina, and I didn't realize he was from Hamlet, North Carolina. And that's where I'm born and raised, in Wilmington, North Carolina. So I've been traveling Highway 74 and going through the town of Hamlet my entire life. And there's another town along 74 called Marshville, and they have famously always had a sign that says, "Welcome to Marshville, home of Randy Travis." And I've also passed through Hamlet, North Carolina my entire life. Um, and they don't have a sign that says home of John Coltrane, one of the greatest American musicians of all time. And I was kind of perplexed by it. Like, why isn't this more well known? And I had to like see some like social media posts of this gigantic mural of John Coltrane, on the side of this building, to know that this dude was from there. So, search history being, shame on you, Hamlet, for not having any kind of like sign along your highway saying John Coltrane is from here, by the way. Like, what are you doing? Get your shit together.
That's ridiculous. Did you say Randy Travis is
Yeah,
from
so
that same
Marshville
town?
is like 50 miles away, and it's like their most favorite
Okay.
thing to display. Like they've had like presentation, they've given them like keys to the city and like and shit like that. And obviously you can't do that with with Hamlet, but like have some kind of marker, have something like John Coltrane is one of the greatest American musicians of all time. Like have something denoting that, hey, he was born here. Like Marshville right down the road is tickled shit that they have Randy Travis as a hometown guy. Like, show some pride in John Coltrane, for God's sake.
Yeah,
Right, that's
that's
what I'm saying. That and
blasphemous.
that's
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 insane.
my that's why I got my ire up about it. Um, and the only like, and one other thing, the Thin White Duke. I think I was listening to Behind the Bastards the other week, and Robert Evans mentioned something about David Bowie supporting like some fascist politician in the 70s. And so I looked this up because I was curious, like what the hell he was talking about. And I think it was the episode with like Bridget Todd was the guest, but I looked up the Thin White Duke, and apparently like he said that like obviously he was doing a hell of a lot of drugs back then, and he blamed a lot of his comments, and he said that it was
Right.
part of the character of the Thin White Duke. And then he moved from like California back to England to like get his shit together and like stop doing as many drugs, and he retired that kind of persona. So I was hoping, like when Evan said it, I was hoping like hell. I was like, is that like genuinely how he felt, or is that like was that like a character he was playing? So he allegedly says it was a character, and yeah, David Bowie's got all sorts of other problematic shit in his history. But I was like, God damn, man! Like I thought, just a few years later, he's giving MTV shit for not playing black artists on their channel and stuff. I was like, what kind of like political swing did he get off of or get onto at different points in his career? So that's my search history. Those are the three things, like most recent things I've looked up.
I was curious where you were, like if you were from Wilmington, if you grew up there, but I
Yep,
think you
yep.
already
Born and
said that.
raised here in Wilmington in the Cape Fear area. Just I guess technically it's outside of the city limits, but the place I'm actually like the little township. It's not even a township. It's not an incorporated area. It's got a Wikipedia entry, so goddamn it counts. But Monkey Junction is the
Right.
name of the place. Monkey Junction is just a little south of the Wilmington city limits. We've got our own Walmart, and we've got our own Home Depot and our own Lowe's, so it's might as well be North Myrtle Beach is what my dad called it whenever it started getting built up around here. So yeah, Monkey Junction is the area, and that name actually comes from, there used to be a service station between here and a little beach town called Carolina Beach, just across a place called Snow's Cut. And a lot of these places are actually that show, that show Outer Banks that people have been talking about.
I've heard of it.
So
Refresh
Outer
my
Banks
memory
is
on
like
that.
this show on Netflix that's like, it's kind of like an updated version of like Dawson's Creek, which was filmed here in Wilmington. But like it's a bunch
Yeah,
of
I remember that.
ridiculously good looking kids, and they get in trouble, and there's the
Hmm.
right side of town and the wrong side of town. What's weird is those dudes are actually from Wilmington, but they placed everything in the Outer Banks, but all the names for places are actually like places from around here. So like the heroes of the story live in a place called the Cut, which is a reference to Snow's Cut, which is like right where I'm from, basically. The rich kids are from a place called Figure Eight. I think it's Figure Eight in the show, but that is like a real wealthy like island with big homes on it. I think Michael Jordan's got a house on there because he's from Wilmington. And then they party a lot on Masonboro, which I do too. Like it's like Masonboro is like this like kind of barrier island right off of New Hanover County, Wilmington area. So we hop in the boat and go over there all the time. So yeah, that's where I'm from, born and raised. And anyway, back to the Monkey Junction thing. You can cut all that shit out, by the way. But back to the Monkey Junction thing. There used to be a service station here between like Wilmington city limits and Snow's Cut, and the guy had monkeys out in, I don't know the actual species, if they were like capuchin or something like that. But yeah, he used to keep monkeys out in like a tree out in front of the service station, and people used to, on their way to Carolina Beach, they would stop, and that was kind of his like roadside attraction. So that gave it the name Monkey Junction.
A lot of background on an area that I thought I was somewhat familiar with, but I mean, I guess, I haven't been there since we moved
Right.
away from that area when I was like 8. Moving on, I have this, like I said, I very hastily assembled this list of
Yeah,
these
yeah.
bullet points here. Skipping over a couple things, but
How long have you had that giant beard? Listeners may not be aware, like if you don't follow Kristi Yamaguccimane on Twitter, or haven't seen I think your picture is now your actual face, right?
No, you know what? I think I switched it back to Dale Earnhardt. The
Oh,
Raise
okay.
Hell, Praise Dale, Burn Down Applebee's logo.
Hell yeah.
It's kind of like it's I don't know that
Yeah.
I've ever seen like a piece of art that kind of encompasses my immediate knee jerk reaction to anything quite like that little slogan.
Yeah, I obviously, we've never met in person or anything, but I somehow when I first saw that, I was like, this, I think, just fits Kristi Yamaguchi.
so how long have you had that
So,
giant beard?
my first job I ever had was working for a grocery store called Winn-Dixie. And
Okay.
I'm trying to think the year. I think it was like October of 2004 is when they filed for bankruptcy and they closed down most of their stores. I think there's still some down in Florida, but that was the last time I shaved, was 2004. So I guess we're in this October will be 16 years since the last time I've taken like a razor to my face and been clean shaven. Um, so about 16 years now, and I trim it every once in a while. You got to keep it healthy. You got to get the split ends off of there, and like when you're, the little breaks in your hair and stuff. So I trim it, I take care of it, I shampoo it, I condition it. I ain't trying to be a slob about it or anything. Make sure I don't leave food in it or anything like that. But yeah, that's how long I've had it. People are, I think the most shocking thing people hear about it is that my wife has never seen my face clean shaven before. And like, so for some reason, people like, they get hung up on that fact sometimes. It's like they just can't believe that like she's never seen my chin or my jawline, which I have a pretty prominent chin. I have a good jawline or whatever. But honestly, like when I knew the fix was in as far as the hair on top of my head, so I just went ahead and started growing my beard out whenever that grocery store closed down, and I have navigated the world since then. You know, a lot of people think you can't get hired or you ain't trustworthy, or you know, either you're going to end up, you know, just beating people up at bars and shit the rest of your life if you got a beard this big. But honestly, like I was growing this thing before the whole trend. Before it came trendy to like have a beard or you know, for beard clubs and all that shit like that. I've had it before then, and I'll have it afterwards, unless I get a wild hair up my ass and decide to shave it one night, which I don't foresee happening, but it could.
Well, you're a braver man than I at least have like a higher tolerance for discomfort. I mean, I guess you get used to it after a while, but
I don't even notice it's there. It's not itchy in any way. It's softer than most people's hair, you know? Like it's actually it's more people like my beard than they actually like me. So at this point, I would be really fucking myself over if I shaved them.
It's like
Exactly,
part of your brand.
Exactly. It
point,
is
right?
definitely. And just a side note, I do so I mentioned earlier I detail cars for a living, but I'm also a wedding officiant.
Mm-hmm.
So I do 30 to 40 weddings a year. And honestly, like the beard gets me more weddings than anything else. And by the way, I don't know if you said gigantic beard, I'd say it's about 13, 14 inches long. Maybe. Like it's definitely a foot at least.
Yeah, that's a big beard in my book.
It is. And it's hit terminal length. It doesn't really get longer than this. So I'll never catch up to Billy Gibbons or any of those dudes you see in like the Guinness World Record book and shit. But yeah, so the wedding officiant thing, I stick out like a sore thumb when people are like browsing online profiles of people's, you know, of wedding officiants. So like they, you know, when I meet with these couples and stuff and find out what they're looking for as far as the ceremony, I always ask them like, so if you don't mind me asking, like, what did you just Google me or did you find me on some like wedding venue site? And when they say that they saw a picture of me, they always like their response is inevitably, well, I hope you don't mind, but like we saw the beard and we thought you looked, you know, kind of cool compared to the other, you know, Bob Barker like officiants, you know, the old white haired dudes that are you know, kind of look like pastors. Because I again I stick out like a sore thumb, but like it's been a part of my branding, and it also works as like a filter for people. If a couple is like looking to get married and they are cool with my appearance, then like they're 99% of the time going to be cool about everything else. I'm not going to have to deal with bridezillas. I'm not going to have to deal with bad attitudes. Like they are low key, they are easygoing, they are, you know, everything you could hope for as far as doing business.
Dude, yeah, sounds like you got a pretty good system worked out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's like foolproof. So let's see. I got through the beard. Oh, music. What's your story with music?
So let's see. So I think I started playing guitar when I was 13. And I started, and I tell one of the guys that was in my wedding, one of my good friends, Frankie, he got an acoustic guitar, and I thought, if that idiot can play this thing, I can play this thing too. So, and I've told him that many times. And so I'm the one that stuck with it though. He I don't think he plays very much anymore. He maybe strum, but like I told my dad I wanted for my 13th or 14th birthday, I wanted to get an acoustic guitar. So he's a bluegrass picker. He plays dulcimer actually, like lap dulcimer. So like I grew up with gigantic parties at my house. With he was in the film business for about 35-40 years, and the crew that he used to work with all the time, everybody played like a different instrument. So we'd have banjo pickers and upright bass and guitar players, and he'd be on, you know, dulcimer and mandolin pickers and stuff. So I grew up around live music just in the house all the time. And so he went out and he found the best sounding guitar he could find, that wasn't an arm and a leg. And so I stuck with it. It's still my acoustic guitar that I play to this day. So yeah, it just kept snowballing from there. I just kept playing and eventually, because guitar players are kind of a dime a dozen, in a lot of towns, I started playing bass, for a band called Rapture Cabaret, which was like a kind of like an at the gates kind of metal band, breakdowns and all that good shit. And yeah,
Hell yeah.
I think that album is streaming still. I think it got put up, but we did one album and put that out, and then I played in another band called Beard of Antlers, played bass and did vocals in that one. And that's more of like a stoner doom kind of like super ungodly heavy band inspired by bands like Sleep and Sabbath and things like that. And then the current band I'm in is a band called Bandolero, which is Spanish for bandit, and we just like the sound of it and kind of roll it off the tongue a little bit. But it's kind of like honestly, like, I don't like to overclassify rock and roll. Like, if it's rock and roll, it's rock and roll, and it's kind of like we've had people say it sounds like a mix between like Queens of the Stone Age and ZZ Top, which I will gladly take both of those as compliments, if we come anywhere close to that. And we cover a lot of ZZ Top songs just because it's in the wheelhouse, and we love Top as a band. So
And you have the look.
yeah, exactly.
So,
And actually, this past Halloween,
yeah.
we did a Halloween show at a local bar here called Reggie's 42nd Street Tavern, and they do a huge Halloween show every year where they get local bands to learn an entire cover set and dress up as the band and kind of in character, like perform for the Halloween show. So we did ZZ Top, and
Perfect.
I ordered like this fancy ass jacket and a hat and the shades and everything, and we all were kind of like different versions of our counterparts. And my birth name is Willie, Willie, so I was Willie F. Gibbons for Halloween, and I told the crowd I was Billy's cousin. His throat was hurting a little bit, so I was going to do vocals and play rhythm and sit in with the band and shit. So man, I leaned into it because there's nothing I hate worse than somebody half-assing a performance of something. So I leaned into it as hard as I could, and they absolutely loved it. It was
like
probably the funnest show I've ever played.
Yeah, leaning into it. That's
That is
half-assing
awesome.
something, especially if you're performing. Like, it makes it less fun for everyone involved.
Like, I feel for someone who like can't commit to a performance in some way, like whether it be like comedy or music or theater or something. Like, if I get the sense that they don't want to be on stage, I like want to crawl into a hole and die on their behalf. Like, it's so cringy to me, and so I can't. If I get on stage, I go full bore. Like, I can't do anything half-assed when it comes.
Just getting up there and just every bit of energy that we had, like not leaving anything left over by the time the set was done. Right?
Absolutely. Like, my favorite thing is to be exhausted after a show, because I have shown my ass. And
okay, well, that does it for this episode. Once again, he is Kristi Yamaguccimane. That's at Crispy Meme Donut on Twitter. I am Haas Bossman. That's Haas_Bossman on Twitter. And on YouTube, just search for Haas Bossman. You'll find me there. My channel, I'm launching a couple of new channels soon, within probably the next couple weeks. At least one of them within the next couple weeks. Over the next month, I have just a bunch of ideas for stuff that I'm going to take some stuff from back when I was an English teacher and sort of reformat it, some of my lesson plans and stuff about critical thinking and stuff that I just thought was really fun, and kind of try to do something with it for YouTube and make some videos out of it. I think that'll be pretty cool, and just be a way to kind of sort of use my degree. Well, I love you guys, and I thank you so much. And please tune in next week for part 2 of the Kristi Yamaguccimane interview, The Seminal Moment in American History. Oh, and the song we're riding out on, I don't remember which one I chose. I liked a lot of the songs. This is Kristi Yamaguccimane's band, Bandoleros. Check them out on Bandcamp. This is a full song. It's not copyrighted, so I'm just going to play the whole thing as we ride out here. Check them out on Bandcamp, Bandolero. So here's this song. I can't remember which one I picked, but I did download one last night. And I'm going to shut up now. Everybody, have a wonderful weekend. I will hopefully be in your ear orifices soon. It's a Breadsheet.